Hello again, and thanks for coming. I'll be presenting 45B. What we're seeing already on the screen share is our current landing page, which is actually just a Google Doc. I'm going to skip over this page for this part for a second and come straight down to what is 45B, and then maybe we can go back up when it makes more sense. So this is the presentation of the concept of this group of professionals. We are basically a group of professionals that would aim to take small and medium businesses through this pipeline of training them, helping them to include ADA in their balance sheet, and help them find solutions or build solutions in Cardano. In overall, the mission would be to bring adoption or to facilitate bringing adoption to Cardano and Web3. And we would be aiming these services at small and medium businesses, artists that are looking to make their first NFT collection, Web3 development entities, or even Web3 communities that are looking to train newcomers or find more solutions in Cardano. Here on the learning pillar, we already have this experiment of what we can call a pilot project called Cardano for Non-Techs. I'm not going to open it for now. Maybe I'd like to basically present the whole initiative and start opening discussion to you guys to see how you feel about it, how you think it's going to work. Maybe then we can go into specific aspects of it. So in terms of the learning part, this initiative would be rebranded and we would call it using 45b.io. And this would serve as well to provide training to our partners, corporations, and communities. On the managed side, there's a number of services that we can provide as well, or network with the existing Treasury Guild, for example. Also, Yoram is starting an initiative around crypto accounting. It's something that's going to be, every organization is going to need to eventually be compliant in terms of their taxes and all that, those basic needs that they will have. So our goal here is to partner with legal and accounting offices to make sure that we can facilitate this to the businesses that we are involving. So especially if we're getting Web2 organizations, it's important to take them through a process, even to get the partners or some decision makers in the organization to understand them on a personal level, to understand what crypto is and Cardano, and then gradually to consider doing a plan of including it. Taking payments in ADA or in Bitcoin would be the first thing, and then all the day-to-day things. Again, here on the build side, I've mentioned on NFT onboarding for artists, and something that also articulates very much with Gimbalabs. And I've started doing this type of pilot things with James and with Roberto, who on at least one or two clients. And I've also written in our Discord to try to create this type of a standard for diagrams, so that when so my professional history comes more from a technical business analyst profile, where this type of person is talking to the client with a completely business type of language to understand what the client wants to do, how they're, even if it's liquidity pools or something like that, how they are envisioning things to work. And then we would do the diagrams around how that could be built or how the client sees that it makes sense to them. We would help make sure that values don't, are not at risk, and etc. And then use that type of diagram to bridge with developers, with the Gimbalabs team mostly, to find ways of actually getting it built, or articulate onwards to other partners. So yeah, this here you'll also have the possibly create a stake pool. I'm not thinking of creating a token for now, obviously, because it's really just a very, very early idea, and this is the high level. Scrolling down a bit, we already are in a partnership with Mesh. One of the things I started trying to do, articulating with Jingles and with Abdel, is to put together, even also with Yoram, he's generating leads of this organization, for example, called Web3 Learn, where they usually sell courses for Ethereum and Solidity. And so I was just having a meeting with them saying, what if you put in a course here where the first part is the Cardano concepts, so the things I'm used to teaching in Cardano for Non-Techs about UTXOs, change, all the wallet addresses, all those things. And I would be doing that first part of the course. And someone from Gimbalabs, for example, Roberto, or even someone from Mesh itself would come and teach a bit about how to use Mesh for React developers. So this type of course would be something that we would be conceptualizing in Party 5B to be an end-to-end course. We could partner with Gimbalabs, like I was saying, through Roberto, or we could white label it to these types of organizations to try to, in a way, what we were doing is bringing Web3 Learn to Cardano, like it was Yoram's initiative goal. So yeah, so this is one example of how partnerships work. In Littlefish, I'm also helping a bit on their financial management, so tracking wallets and those types of things, finding bridging with legal partners and all that. Here from Web3 user group, we learned a bit about how they did their NFTs, and we're trying to bring that knowledge to this type of service here. And yeah, I think this gives you an overview of what 45B aims to be. We are looking for partners in these areas, like I've mostly said, basically trying to branch out. And yeah, I have this video presenting the whole content above, which, just to close my presentation, is basically the generic. I put this document together to for a lecture about Web3. And so I came up with this approach of crypto 1 to 3, where 1 is just get started, just install a wallet and play with it a bit. Second one is know about regular money. There's loads of links there. Here we have a bit like, don't think up in your mind what crypto, if you think it's going to work or not, and go and see for what facts are and how established things are already. And yeah, so these are just some concepts that I like to take people through on their onboarding, and also a lot of use cases for Web3. So in overall, our main focus is Cardano for everything, but you know that if you're approaching a merchant or someone, it's going to be also easy, or even a better place to start with, advising him to start taking payments in Bitcoin. Through networking with Game Changer, I am sort of trying to, for example, they have this payment terminal where they are taking payments in Cardano, and trying to find solutions that maybe we could find a hybrid type of device, where I think this could be you know, a value for us to be bringing on users. Maybe even, for example, what I've started doing in Portugal is to find restaurants that already take Bitcoin and approach them and say, why not take Cardano as well? So yeah, there's a lot of synergies there. Here, because we're talking about the legal side and we want to be compliant and etc., eventually this is going to be, I like the term for it. So organizations are going to be incentivized to use this by governments, and probably we're going to need to be there to partner to support our clients in advising them a bit about this, although it's not our core at all. But yeah, I think this concludes the overall view that I meant to share with you guys. And I'd just like to open the floor to questions and contributions, thoughts about what I'm trying to put together here. What do you think? I'm going to stop sharing my screen meanwhile.
Thanks for the share. It's been good to see this come into life.
Yeah, it's a lot of spreading out ideas so far, but partnerships and networking is going to be crucial for this to work. So the approach is it contrasts a bit with the approach of Gimbalabs, because here it's really a community where people come and get together and discuss topics and etc. 45B is a bit more to gather around leads, gather around projects. So I'm not trying to reinvent everything. It's more just maybe on the commercial side, you may say. Guys, any feedback at all?
Yeah. Yeah, Lucas, if you ever want to talk, my name is James. I'm here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we're working with the universities in a couple of environments that we could really benefit from collaborating, I think, because structurally we do a very similar thing than what you guys are doing here in Las Vegas. And Fletcher and I, my partner with the carpool education system,
Okay.
you know, we've been building a lot of this stuff out, and we'd love to kind of help you, or at least synergize or see where we can help each other. Because I would like to eventually be a funnel for Gimbalabs as well, because we know educating people, once they discover how this stuff works, then they want to get involved. Where is that next step? You know, let's teach them how to code. Let's get them to Gimbalabs and environments such as that. So I think we're on the same page, and you know, there couldn't be too many of us. Because if we're talking about educating the globe, you know, we need to really get together and just start expanding as rapidly as we can with good information, consistent information. So yeah, let's make sure we exchange some information. We'll definitely talk about content.
I'm going to ask you if you can drop the link for your initiative in the chat. And I think I've heard of it. And I totally agree about this approach that the main thing, as you can see from this draft, is selling FaceTime with people, holding hands and installing a wallet. And it's going to be tedious even for a trainer to be teaching the same thing over and over again. I even considered doing it like having a weekly room that's always going to be open at like a meeting point, like we have the global town hall, but it quickly gets sold for a trainer. So it's important that we onboard people and then challenge learners to become trainers and to pass it onwards.
Absolutely. That's kind of what we're all trying to do, at least the ones that can. So I co-host an event here in Vegas called Tech Alley. I just realized my domain expired yesterday, but I think we got it back up. And if we didn't, I don't have a website for you right now.
I'm opening up a website.
And we don't have, our domain expired like 2 days ago. So we're actually thinking about changing the name. So that's why we held off on renewing it. So our website's not actually up, but let's do the other one. Change education.
Thanks.
Hey, Lucas, great to see you. I wonder your opinion, since you are a business strategist analyst, this project is one of the main goals is to bring the organization, especially traditional, to blockchain, especially Cardano. Of course, this is very maybe cliche question, but I wonder your opinion and expert analyst actually. What are the main obstacles or challenges for organization to come to blockchain and Cardano at this moment, at this stage of blockchain, crypto winter, Cardano, everything this which you already know? And what do you suggest as a solution for those challenges? Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for the question, Max. It's really interesting. So, like I said, I've been trying to organize crypto talks in my hometown, and maybe eventually also I've been going to Lisbon for Cardano meetups. Eventually, I want to take this model that I've been doing locally a bit bigger, maybe do a bit of promotion on Instagram or even TikTok to try to get people. TikTok maybe not so much, but people keep telling me I should. But to your question, I think the main thing is understanding, and I feel like we should do like a children's game or something that is like, Army of Spies, the Cardano YouTuber, was saying we basically have crypto people and crypto phobes. And so, how humbling it should be for the crypto phobes in the Senate and everything to just see that their children are playing with ADA on some app or something. So the main thing, the main point that I have to reply to you is understanding and not be a cryptophobe is the main challenge. And then people go through understanding also encompasses the fiat on and off ramps, because people think it's very, very hard to convert ADA into dollars and vice versa, and also the legal compliance. So that's the main challenges I'm trying to tackle there with the training plans and keeping it simple and practical. And it's only after taking business people through that process on a personal level that we can actually, because it's really serious. You know, you spend 10, 15 years, 20 to build a company. And when you have it up, you probably must feel, and you are to some extent, risking having complications in the company because you now have Bitcoin in your balance sheet, or, you know, so it's tricky. James?
Yeah, also to add to that question, like what we can all do like locally. Something that I did that I found really effective was I quite literally walked into the university and started asking to speak with people in the arena, in the tech arena, any professors. I went to high schools. I talked to the computer science teachers. I was able to build 8 Cardano servers in a high school so the kids could learn how to do some of the coding and learn about how these things work. And so really it is just about reaching out and talking to these entities, these bodies, like the universities. They're hungry for knowledge and they don't know actually where to get it in a lot of cases. And so I decided to just walk right in and just say, here we are. I created a slide deck if anybody would like a copy of it. It talks about the evolution of blockchain, where things are moving, the economy, the stresses of the economy, education, and I was able to give that to them and share it with them. And they were very interested to kind of keep tabs on what's going on here. So I've been invited to be part of the university in a group called Blackfire. And I'm just saying these are things that anybody can do. You know, I'm nobody special. After it was discovered that we were working on these things, you know, then we got a call from a senator. And now we're working with 5 senators writing BDRs, all talking about integration for blockchain. How? Well, we're going to start with research. We have to learn about the different blockchains, how they function, how they can, you know, manipulate us or liberate us. And where do we find those things? And so I wrote and spoke at the university on the very topics of primarily focusing on the human being interacting with these networks and preserving the rights of that person, any individual. And so now we've got senators coming to us to help establish education protocols for the city of Las Vegas and to experiment with sandboxes with blockchains to understand how they work. You guys, I cannot stress it enough. Please reach out to your local education environments. They're looking for good information, and I think you'll get a warm welcome. At least I have. That's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations. I think that's a bit what I did as well, to try to, you know, put together resources. My first talk was recorded in a one-off, no cuts, no editing, 1 hour 40 presenting and just going over charts and everything. That was in Portuguese. And I did that because I was onboarding one friend to create a first Binance account. I didn't even really understood how more important on-chain is rather than just Binance. And I was just recommending a friend to buy a bit. I started putting resources together, and it became like a 30-page Google Doc. So what I do as well is I try to host local meetups, like I said. And it's crazy because I have this WhatsApp group with some 60, 70 people. They're all just on Binance. They're all just looking at, is Bitcoin gonna hit 25 or whatever. And I take those guys, invite them over to talk crypto. They think crypto is Binance, and I take them over, installing wallets and what Bitcoin did is a channel that I keep an eye on, and they just released second of 3 talks about what is crypto, what is like a. Basically, I go to that type of knowledge because it's more relatable sometimes than to talk to people straight into Web3. If we just talk about self-sovereign money, self-custody, non-inflationable, and all those aspects, I think it's sometimes more relatable. What else? Translate content to local languages is something that I try to do, and that's why for 45B we registered 45b.io, but we also already have 45b.pt for Portugal, and I would be happy to try to, not franchise, even more like share content so that people can white label and use on their own, whatever they want to call it, project. Also, I'm a bit tiring for friends and family, but just at least don't say I didn't warn you type of thing, because it's I really believe what Jeff Booth promotes of get off zero, and if you just put $100 or something, it's going to do a lot for your literacy, for understanding self-custody, and you're going to be a lot better than to be on zero, especially if things start becoming complicated on the TradFi world and on the dollar world. You're a lot closer to saving your values. Yeah, I realize that there's these two approaches. One thing is just the Bitcoin type of approach of savings, and the other one is the Web3 part. But turning a bit more to Web3, I also, for example, if I have a Christmas gathering or something, I take that image and I try to put it as an NFT and share it with people, and it sort of creates this curiosity. And I have a project with Roberto as well to try to create some way of framing a group picture. And well, we also have this one about tattoos, but that one's more for later. But yeah, to try to find projects that have great use cases. There's one called holiday cards that's just very, very simple. And I think these use cases are going to help onboard users very in a very social way. What else? I also reach out a bit, like you said, maybe not to talk to politicians yet, but I'm also inviting a local, there are liberals around here. I'm also inviting them to my local talks. But what I was going to say is I reach out to boot camps and training institutions to go there and give some talks on crypto. So there's all this. I just encourage you to consider doing these things as well, and we'll be doing this to our network of clients and partners. Sorry, I was ranting a bit. Sebastian?
Yes. Yes, Lucas, congratulations for your initiative. When I think about onboarding external people of the people outside of the ecosystem, I think about the successful people that bring massive and important companies to the ecosystem. And when I think about that, I can help to think in Joran, for example, in this case. And Joran brings to the ecosystem really important companies outside our ecosystem, and bring them to Cardano. One of those companies is Web3 Learn. It's one, and many others. And when I think about how he on board and what's the tale of Joran's tale, I think a mix of legit reasons why the companies can have an opportunity on Cardano at a technical level of in a growth sense. But I think this kind of people with this kind of experience onboarding people outside of the ecosystem has a really, really authentic telling around not technical, not about Bitcoin, not about all these common topics. Instead of that, it's about serious links with how it's happening in the world. For example, he recently bring the ecosystem, he onboard a massive social network around students, for example.
Mhm.
I don't remember the name in this moment. But it's really interesting why these kind of people onboard massive companies, bring them to the ecosystem, and after all that process comes the technicalities and the deep knowledge about how function Cardano. That's my reasoning in this moment. Thank you, and congratulations for your initiative.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think things like what Yoram is trying to do, and I think the biggest thing, I feel like I jumped into Cardano and landed on Gimbalabs, and I think one of the biggest thing is that you get to have other projects blossom out of your project, and Yoram is just that's his day to day. Try to bring people and that they start projects in there. So yeah.
Yes, it's the same with the students. For example, the students in the universities around the globe. When if your intention as is selling some kind of academic opportunity, the student in general don't respond to the academic opportunity itself. The students respond to other things. For example, a future, the idea of the future, and how the student in this case can be included in that brilliant future. My point is the technicalities are at the end of the story. Okay, that's all.
Yeah.
By my side.
Makes sense. Thank you so much. So I don't know. James, do we have time or are we over 10 minutes? Is that it?
We usually go, we can go for up to another, what, like 40 minutes, 38 minutes?
No, I think maybe I'll just leave it at 10. I was just going to ask you guys if do you have any suggestions in terms of platforms that I can use? Because I'm in this context here in Portugal and all. And do you think it's too far-fetched to go to TikTok? Do you think there's other things, even like, for example, for small and medium businesses, LinkedIn? Any thoughts on this? No thoughts. Quasar, do you want to say hi? Do you have any thoughts on this? Quasar's been working on promoting some projects as well.
Yeah. All right. Hi, everyone. Hi, all the listeners around the world. I would suggest, LinkedIn, TikTok might be a little bit tricky, but Facebook, honestly, as hard as it may be,
Okay.
LinkedIn and Facebook are going to be the hot ones.
Okay. Thanks.
And if you're good with LinkedIn, if you haven't already discussed it, getting the free month of their pro or whatever platform that they have, it's a paid service. It's free for the first month and then $80 after that. It's worth it if you know how to market and who you want to reach. You can do a lot of direct message marketing. And I'm saying that because it was successful for me, but at the same time, I hate all those messages in LinkedIn.
Okay, cool. Another thing maybe I could ask from this group to give us input on is these Cardano for non-technical people sessions. We've been doing them for free weekly. Then I started doing a second cohort that was twice a week. Then I started doing another cohort in Portuguese. And at a point I just parked a bit everything, kept it back to one because it was not, it was spending so much of my time and it was not financially sustainable from my side. So now I tried to branch it out to try to have a sponsored session, that meeting point weekly, but I felt like most reactions I got was, oh, mate, we're in a bear market, no one can sponsor you. and in last resort, 45B will be sponsoring it, and we would just be putting in our time and promoting ourselves. Yeah, so these types of formats to share end user training. I'm thinking even Adriano from Game Changer told me he shared it with his father because it's in Portuguese, and it's just now it's just the videos. So do you have any opinion on whether we should do more async videos, or does it make sense that I'm trying to do the FaceTime Zoom calls, and how we could make it sustainable in terms of finding partners or sponsors, or what do you think?
Yeah, I have a similar question right now about the PBL videos, and it's been fun to think about how we can really lean on the live coding time, right? Or this playground time, right? These in-person calls that already happen and that some people might want to go review. And if they do, there's a lot to learn there. But then also having a short version to really get people started feels nice. So, and it takes the pressure off once you know that you have those live sessions to lean on, because if you skip over anything in the short version, people can just come ask you questions.
Yeah, that's interesting, because what I did was I just jumped in, recorded the sessions. My priority was the FaceTime, and obviously, if we're just publishing live sessions, they become a bit lengthy and fragmented, and there's mishaps that are going back and forth. So yeah, that's a great insight that I hadn't considered, to just do, instead of 40-minute sessions, just do the 5 or 10 minutes of overview of things, and then have the sessions for questions. Yeah, thanks. Quasar.
I'm a fan of taking the longer sessions and cutting out 15 to 30-second clips of them, and then making a little bit of a montage. And then once let's just say that you find five topics with 5 clips, do a little bit of a extra in-depth commentary or content around it, but also sending it out and getting a feel on which of those 5 is your clients or community or your audience actually looking for, because these long videos are really difficult. And to everyone around the world, if we could find a way to timestamp these in real time or something to come back to it, how do we find ways to maximize our time and effort to identify points in videos or conversations to go back and revisit easily? That's a challenge for me.
There's this channel on YouTube, and I can't remember. It might be the Big Think channel. But they do these videos where they go get like a quantum physicist, and in like 10 or 15 minutes, they like have him explain that to a 5-year-old, and then explain it to a 14-year-old, and then explain it to an adult.
I've seen that.
And
That's great.
I think that's a really great template, for doing this. Because you can break it down into simple things, and it's more, like I was using, because of not the What Bitcoin Did guy, but Anthony Pompliano. He uses the Monopoly game as just a great metaphor for blockchain. It's like, each turn is a transaction, and people get that. As soon as you say that, and it doesn't matter what culture you're talking to, is if there's a game where everybody gets a turn, that concept can be related. And I think the hard thing that lay people have in understanding what we're doing here is that, that record of a transaction can be programmable. That's really out there. That's a big leap that, is easier to understand if you understand a little bit about how programs are written. But at the end of the day, who cares? It's just that you can do that. Most people will accept it at face value if you say that. You know, we can just put programmable information in a transaction and they'll say, oh, okay. What's that mean? And then you can tell them what it means. You don't have to really explain the mechanics of it.
No. Yeah, I think I'm puzzled sometimes between like maybe I'm going to share my screen for a second, but between creating these static pages like I was showing you just now, where is it? So these would be landing pages, right? And the goal is that people find these themselves on like crypto123.45b or something like that, and they would just get these content. But then there needs to be links for them to get into contact with us and meet the communities. And, you know, I think, well, what do you think about these? Are these like too dense to, what do you think?
Well, that's, you know, and that's something that's really important to me, right? You know, I mean, in terms of like understanding the motivation of the whole worldwide crypto community. Why are they doing that? Well, these charts, what do these charts mean? They mean everything's been stolen from us for over 100 years. That's what that means. And that needs explanation. And then that's political. That's political teaching. That's revolutionary teaching. That's, you know, it's tricky stuff, you know, because it leads to a lot of rabbit holes. But I think it's very necessary to understand motivation. You know, so I think at some point people need to understand those concepts, but when to explain them, you know, like there was a time there when we were talking about Pluto's PBL, and I thought, you know, we should fucking talk about money, right? You know, because we've got these young kids and they just want to code, but you know why? You know, well, this is why. You know, but you know, I don't think that that's actually a good use of time.
Yeah. Okay, so on this one, we have the use cases that I just put. This is IMX. This is I'm not sure. It's one about packed pages and authentication type of like Oracle type of pipelining all the way in. Do you think that I'm missing some big niche of use cases or technologies around blockchain here? So I have digital identity, oracles, and blockchain itself, and the impacts on different lines of businesses. Anything else that comes to mind?
Dating applications.
Governance as well.
Okay, thanks.
It's a new idea, governance, but some organization can use it to start active democracy instead of, you know, oligarchy style of running business.
People always think about DAOs when we think of governance, no?
But one question I have, maybe even James, that new James can answer it, but Lucas, Steve, what is the most exciting or something that people really we can get their attention when we talk about crypto? But let's be honest, is it price? Is it the technology? Is it the governance? Is it the political stuff, like privacy? What is it? If it is, I mean, if we can find out, and maybe it's a bad thing, I don't know. Maybe it's a thing that, yeah, you know, what is the best tasty food? It's a fast food, but is it the healthy? Of course not, but you know. So I wonder that if we want to go to TikTok, especially with that short amount of time for creating that video, should we go for a platform like TikTok as a fast food blockchain, and in the YouTube like a real food, and in Twitter or something, like with different platform, different food, or no? We need to stick with one goal and one motivation, which, as I said, the answer of the question, which is the most attractive or something that get most attention, at least at the moment.
Mhm.
And then we will create this content and use cases based on that.
James? The new James.
Yeah, so if we are looking to attract an audience, he's right. It's going to be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Reels. We have to campaign, and I think we should actually build out a list of these mainstream media outlets where people are viewing and follow the trends, and we should have groups that are building specifically on these markets. I'm planning on running a campaign on the current state of the economy. Why? In answer to your question, I want to raise questions as to why blockchain can be used as a safe haven in certain situations. And so I've created 10 videos, all just with the current state of the US facts, right? Because I'm US centric when I'm trying to educate my peers. And so we're talking about inflation, we're talking about the economy, we're talking about statistical facts about unemployment and job availability and education and the debt. And so when you start to parallel these things, and then it points to, how does this affect you? Then they start to open their eyes and say, oh, wait, my money's not going as far. I did notice that gas prices were up and I didn't have enough money last month. Okay, this is affecting me. So I guess the big push, and when I fill rooms, it's when I tout things like I'm talking about FTX, and I'm going to be talking about why that particular business structure crashed, even though it was on blockchain. And then we're going to look at our current economic structure. So I'll fill rooms when I talk about that stuff, and then I point it to, and this is why we need to move to self-custody style environments, honeycomb based instead of honeypot based. Because if we allow one person to manage everything for us, we just know that the risk is too much. Let's put it into an autonomous system that we've all agreed works in one particular way. And let's start to unite in that fashion where everybody is accounted for and fair and equal and has a vote and has a yield, and has all of the things that there's. So it really does start with painting the picture and walking them or escorting them through the path of where the current state of the economy is, and then how blockchain can provide those benefits and why specifically they can provide it. And so I'll host classes on asymmetric encryption. I'll teach them security with YubiKeys, Trezor's ledgers, offline seed storage, these types of things, because they want to protect themselves too. They can feel the noose tightening as the economy starts to get weaker, and they're concerned. I get groups of people and people are, around me talking about this stuff, and you can't get them enough good information that really protects them right now. So I would say start there, start with their direct effect and lead them.
Great stuff. Thank you so much. Just going to pass the ball to Quasar again.
Similar to what James there said, is I like to try to plan ahead based on certain events that are, nationally, locally, universally things. So like April 15th is the deadline for taxes. So here in the US, I would be doing a lot of tax return type, using that language in a campaign. And then I'd look for other events on specific subjects and insert what you want to talk about, but in the context of that event. So find a subject that you're looking for, find out if there's events going on. Everybody has conferences and all that kind of stuff. So using those two items, you can usually start getting a lot of people's attention based on this real life event that's happening. So
yeah, that's great. I think aligning with what both of you said, it's about finding the right time, the right people, because the general audience is too broad to just go and say crypto is salvation, and people just say this guy's a kook. So if we find people that understand in the context of businesses or in the context of, like James was saying, for example, to talk about the inflation with the general audience may be a bit too risky of not succeeding. But if you find people that are already financially literate to some extent, or in a business school or something like that, maybe you'd be better off. I made a note here to mention something which is sort of like ridiculous, but when people, if you tell people at the dinner table that Bitcoin averages 100% year on year revenue or like growth, people don't take it, and they think it's too much. But if I've had this one friend, he's a developer, he's like, should know better, but he only called me up and said, now I'm interested, when someone told him that he can get 5% interest per year if he leaves his Bitcoin at some exchange or custodian or something. So it's really puzzling to me how people, they don't mind 100% average year on year, but then they want the 5% of more Bitcoin. And so it's just,
Lucas, this happens on astronomy as well. Like, for example, if I say that the distance between Earth and Sun is 150 million kilometers, said, okay, so what? But if we put that in constant and measure it and compare it, then we can understand this vast distance. Or like there is this 4 years, or light years to reach the first star from our solar system. This is, I think, the reality that when after some threshold, no matter the number, people treat it the same. Like for example, a threshold is 20%. If it is 21%, or it is 100,000% per second, the understanding is same, because the number passed that threshold. So I think it is a general phenomenon in other areas as well. But one question again I have is, when you talk about from everyone, when you guys talk about crypto and how it is against the traditional financial system, but if the person brings up that, hey, you know what, it's good and great, but I've heard of this cycle, bear market, bull market, and if I buy Bitcoin right now, let's say it's $20,000, and if it is in bear market, of course, it will reach something bull market, but again, it will come to another bear market. So does this mean that my investment, my life saving and something will go to this wave of going up and down, and I have to be aware when should I sell, when should I buy or something? Should I be a trader? I don't want to be a trader. I just want to make it safe. So I wonder your answer to this question that someone bring up the cycle that the price of a token or coin can comes around 60 or even 80%. And then, of course, it will be a price appreciation after some cycle, but again, it will come down. So have you answered this to someone asked you this question or not?
yeah, well, the first thing I try to tell people is that they need to think long term, that when they actually understand the reasons for crypto to exist and Bitcoin and Cardano, they are not ever going to want to have zero of it. It's going to be a savings, and maybe sometimes they take a bit of profit and store it in other things. But I also try to explain very well the difference between being a holder and having a savings plan, or being doing swing trading, which is about, I compare it with the new type of stock exchange, selecting this company or that company, or metaverses or AGIX or something like that. And only in the last degree should they care about trading and speculative investment. So I try to go over those. I don't know who was first, if it was James or Sebastian. Please go ahead.
Sebastian was first.
Sorry, go ahead. No problem. Go ahead. Okay, as we all know, Catalyst is a good place to give shape to collaborations, many kinds of collaborations. And I'm sure that in the ecosystem we can find many other projects and initiatives that are looking for the same goal. For example, in Catalyst, in each round of Catalyst funding, you can find projects around DEXs, around how to commercialize the idea of Cardano as a product, of many other products and working groups around common projects. I think one good way to arrive to the concrete idea, because in this ecosystem nobody has the concrete idea of how to present this blockchain idea to the people in the outside world. Nobody have that idea yet. But I think we as a part of this ecosystem, we can get to that answer together with some other partners, with some other projects. And I think your project has the opportunity in this ecosystem to get to that answer with other projects, these specific projects to similar to yours.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's.
Okay,
And go
thank
ahead.
you. James.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, very good special.
Yes.
Yeah, honestly, this is a question that we wrestle with quite a bit, because people have to consider, what am I going to, what are my options, I guess, is where I like to start it. I sit them down and I say like this. Right now, you exist in the current environment that you were born in. This is the ecosystem and the financial system that you are completely comfortable with. But what we need to consider is the world is a much larger place, and technology is making it even smaller every day. And so if we can see clearly through the acts of printing money, government difficulties in strategic financial moves, problems that we are starting to see directly imposed upon the consumer to bail out bad financial decisions within that government. If we can see these mechanisms that are working extractively upon us, right? So what does that mean? You go to a checking account, you put in money in a savings account, and you get less than 1% return. Let's do some math. Is that a real savings account? Because the term on that account is savings, right? Are you really saving in that environment? Or is that environment not allowing you to get ahead? And so I do it as a question. When you're talking about the volatility of blockchain, what we also have to do is consider the volatility of cell phones. When they first came out in 1970, they were rejected, they weren't used, they didn't have any features. And now if you were to walk around, you probably would be hard pressed to find one person without a cell phone, right? We saw mass adoption about 20 years after the cell phone first emerged. Where are we in blockchain right now? We are in our 11th, 12th year. We're seeing infrastructure, we're seeing government adoption, we're starting to see a whole bunch of products revolving around this. This is a very interesting time to start to diversify. And why would we do that? We would do that because our current ecosystem isn't as generous as this new technology. And so what we're seeing is there's a possibility that this new technology can not only allow us to thrive in the current ecosystem, communicate on a broader scale, have a vote, and reorganize the structure in which business has been functioning on, which is highly extractive. And so this is a lot of macro topics that we're talking about, but the truth is blockchain is here to stay. It's a very interesting thing to dabble in. Why not diversify, considering the economic system, and then just see what happens? I can't promise you that it'll always go up. There will be down times, but the truth is this is the long game as we see the evolution of this new economy grow, as we see our current economy try to figure out what's going on with its issues. And so usually I'll play it that way, and I get a lot of nods and yeses because they understand the economic turmoil that we're in, and then they're still confused about how to approach blockchain. And so Carpool Education System has created classes where people go through and learn how to construct a wallet. I created some software that'll generate wallets and drop tokens in them, and people can send tokens back and forth and practice in a testnet environment. And by the time they're done, they're ready to construct a real wallet. They're ready to move money in it, and they're comfortable, and they know where security is in self-custody, and they understand the risks if they do want to play on other chains that have, captive abilities. But at least they understand where safety is. And I think that's the initial goal that I'm trying to get everybody to do, is realize where safety is: self-custody and yield in a neutrally, globally accessible environment, so that if your bank ever shuts down, fine, you hop a plane, you go to another country where it is open and you gain access to your money. These are options people don't realize they don't have in the current system that they're residing in. Sorry, guys, it was a little long-winded.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it's critical. It's so good. But James, the cell phone argument is actually really illustrative on the other side too. We all know what cell phones looked like in the 70s and 80s. And there's a good reason why a lot of people didn't carry them. So I think it's also in our best interest to always recognize that, hey, the outside world, what has it heard so far about crypto? And maybe those people aren't all sleeping. Maybe they aren't ignorant or worse, stupid, like many of us can tend to slip into considering them once in a while. Maybe they're exactly right, and they just haven't seen anything in this clunky, slow database that makes it feel worth it to them, right? Now, I wish I lived in a world where everybody understood the money problem. If everybody understood the money problem, what would the price of Bitcoin and ADA be right now, first of all? But second of all, we wouldn't have gotten to this point because people would have understood it in the first place. And so we've all met lots of people who actually came to crypto first and only later started to understand the money problem, to the point now where it's a core reason for being here, but that never would have drawn them in. And so we just have to really, really honor that in people. And we have to create the next market cycle, right? There's this question of market cycles and who understands it. Bitcoin is going to do its thing according to halvings. Fine. That's a self-fulfilling prophecy at this point, right? Enough people are watching the charts that that's going to happen. The last bull run was artificial. It all came from FTX, right? It went up too fast. It crashed too slowly or too fast. We know that. So the last real bull market was 2017. And that was on the backs of people understanding what was new about Ethereum for the first time. But now we've met those people, right? And Ethereum has been in the world, and anybody with a brain ready to appreciate Ethereum has discovered it, and they're building on it, right? So now what's going to drive the next bull run is really for us in the depths of this bear market to be figuring out, right? Because it's not just going to be banging people over the head with what this stuff already is, right? There is going to be an element of that. But Sebastian, I really appreciate what you're saying. We need visions for what else it's going to be. Sure, Q, right? But here's the thing, right? Like, there are also people with a vested interest in keeping the status quo, right? This is not just, oh, as soon as they see the light, that's going to change everything and they're going to understand it. So the collapse of the global economy, maybe, but we can't, like, no matter how real that might feel to us, does that change the dinner table conversation for many people? The world is falling apart. Change.
But these end of times always sell, this
No, they don't. They don't
narrative
really. They
of-
sell. No, they sell a quick story so you can sit around and not take responsibility for yourself. But they don't make many people change their day-to-day behavior.
Yeah.
I don't have
James?
any evidence. I might be. This might be a small sample set, though.
James, you mentioned, does it change the conversation around the dinner table? In 2008, when this happened, the conversations were quite often about dinner, about eating.
Yes.
So Bitcoin showed up a year later. Does it offer that chance to have it changing that conversation, or offer it as something that could come up in a normal, regular family style, dinner when because people are going to start talking about their finances very soon. If it continues that way. So I don't know.
It's true. Well, so yeah, I think this week gives us a really nice chance to try again in polite conversation. Hey, y'all hear about what's happening in banking. Oh, by the way, certain markets went up dramatically. Hey, what's the connection between those, right? And that's such a nice opportunity. That's a very different thing than saying the economy is collapsing, right? And again, we all have our experience. I just have too much experience of people saying, yeah, I fucking know the economy is collapsing. why are you telling me again? And why is that going to change anything about what I'm doing right now, right? But it's looking for the chances to illustrate the actual mechanisms at play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
When the dollar starts trembling, and it's going to be a race to crypto, but a lot of people. On the other hand, I think that governments and all the powers that be and all are gonna. I often go back to. I lived through MP3, peer-to-peer, and all those things, and how like I cannot tell almost anyone that I download movies from torrents. People think I'm a pirate and all that, and I always tell them I would contribute back to the author if I had a platform to do it. And I what I'm trying to get to is I think the governments are going to try to make whatever happens, like the worst things that happen, they're going to try to pin it on crypto and eventually try to push their CBDCs and etc. and sweep crypto under the rug. That's what I think it's going to try to happen.
But the interesting thing is, the one thing that will bring disaster to crypto space is exactly this stable coin and CBDC. Really, if we didn't have these things inside crypto, if the whole economy would crash, crypto would be a safe boat, or somewhat safe. But we are going to see this stable coin, as we saw last week that the one bank got bankrupt, and because of that one CBDC, the $6,000, $5,000, all Bitcoin and all, every crypto kind of crash. So unfortunately, coming of CBDC is not the good news. Not if we just ignore the control of the surveillance of a state and over that and so on, but just it will attach itself to crypto, not like leeches, but like something that will bring crypto and other things to their level. And although crypto wants to expand itself, it wants to be free, but I don't know what would be the solution. But I unfortunately, we might see some bad news in crypto just because of these stable coins.
I'm going to share with y'all that Easter weekend, I guess in less than a month, I'm going to spend the whole weekend with all of the cousins from my mother's side of the family. And I have not seen any of them since the early 80s. So I'll let you know how that conversation about world events goes. Because some of them are pretty smart, one or two of them, but most of them are kind of like the low wattage bulbs in the box. So I'm curious myself how it goes.
Good luck.
I will say you guys have given me some thoughts about, how to approach them. So thanks.
Quizzers is on the chat saying he wants a recording of that.
with timestamps.
Hey guys, I think it's actually funny because the very fact that we're having this conversation and talking about these things in this way is preparing us for those moments when we're with our family. And so I hope that we can share as many concepts and thoughts as we have with each other When I'm at the table and I'm talking about these things, it really is about options. I say, talk to me about your current options in your current environment. And if I can offer, or you can see more options that are better for you, then why not? You know, do you make 5% storing your money in your bank? Or do you make 4.5% storing your money in your bank? That's a yes, no question. And that's a money question. It's a real question. You know, what happens if your bank shuts down like all these other banks? Can you just do something and gain access to your money, or is it kind of gone?
Right.
You know,
Right.
in a globally accessible network that's neutral, you know, you do have more options. And that's really all we're trying to do, is just the Pepsi challenge of comparison here. It's like, here's your two environments. You choose what's better for you. If you like money and you like to preserve your value, you know, which one's better for you? Yeah, posing these questions actually helps them pursue it personally, because then they start to think, well, yeah, I don't want to lose my money. I don't want to, you know, wake up one day and not be able to buy food for the kids. This is an interesting thought. And hopefully, if you get it from that right perspective, more just asking them the questions, maybe they can kind of see what they're missing. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and you know, the other part of that, James, you know, like the cousin that's hosting this get together, you know, she makes huge money, right? She's a highly paid executive, and you know, is very moral, you know, and you know, historically and the way she was raised, you know, and I think the question for people like this, if you can get into a discussion with them, is you know, what, you know, those questions, you know, where can you put your money that you can actually earn something, but also, you know, are the places where you put your money in this economy today, is that affecting positive change in the world? And for people who have a moral compass, you know, I think it's a very cutting question, you know, to get people to think about, where could I more morally place my assets? You know, what could be helping the world, as opposed to just taking advantage of things as they are.
I guess that's true if they would see that what they're doing was somehow not optimal for the world, which I think that the problem with our current system is that it may or may not be optimal, but the problem is we don't know, because we can't see. And we don't have that transparency to know if it is optimal for the world. And if we can start to break down these silos of control and start to do things publicly and open on blockchain, not only can we account for where things are going better, we can actually choose, if it's not going in the right direction, vote it into the right direction. And so it just provides a lot more opportunity for us to go in that and do those things. So, you know, it's stuff like that. It's like, well, where are we going? You know, what do we have now? We have overbloated infrastructure silos that cost too much to validate, or you know, to keep their purpose. And now we have, you know, decentralized computer systems, peer-to-peer networks, if you will, that you can't shut down, you know, simultaneously, which means they're sustainable. And now we can validate with them, and it's a fraction of the cost, and it's better for our current economy, because it breaks away financial silos that disenfranchise, you know, the majority and superpower the minority. These are really huge concepts that can create a sustainable economy over time. We've inherited this system from our forefathers. It wasn't a perfect system. We have an opportunity to totally reconstruct the system now. So let's do that. It is our charge. It is our time. This is our responsibility. And we should be looking at it from that perspective. If not us, who else?
Let's do it. All right. So we always find a way to fill that playground time. Thanks, guys. We do need to transition to Plutus PBL planning so that we can take that opportunity that James is describing to us. But Lucas, thanks, man. Again,
Thank you
really
so much,
good. I think we need you to be like Session. Oh, he had to leave. And just give us this presentation every 6 months or so we can keep tabs and keep looking for ways to collab.
I'll be re-listening to this, rereading the chat, and gathering everything I learned here today. It was amazing to have this type of open conversation with everyone, and I'll be around. Thank you so much.
Good things. Good things. All right. And Gimbalabs is trying to build a Web3 Learn competitor on Cardano. So I'm going to turn off the live stream now, but just so everybody knows, you could stop by any Tuesday and check it out if you